Episode for higher GC News. Bima Uya Kwaba Hadia latest and hot news Mkwa Aramede Bremo. Enunti Sonyan subscribe to channel idea Bomodia say be subscribe. They'll be on say be click the subscribe button na wabele notification where there's a new video be upload when the first person I want sa ebeka esa video afi uya na wa like video give us a thumbs up na afi share ma Ato Forson na when you be here na wo hu ensemo ekoso ewo Ghana memu harom afi yehwe ye ensemo abeto ye pono so yenti ye sankomo yenti sansemo ya ekoso yi mu yenti.
Yesterday the president had a lot to say, and the economy dominated his delivery. The main image painted was that of a huge pit of debt, out of which the nation must climb before anything meaningful can be achieved. And he mentioned several areas, sectors, departments, state-owned institutions that were carrying huge debts of their own. We've also picked up from our sources some of the ministries whose pits are also quite deep. Did you find a similar situation when you settled into the foreign ministry?
The debt situation, it's really frightening. And to answer your question directly, the foreign ministry was not left out. I have also met colossal arrears of about 453 million Ghana cedis. Largely our assessed contributions to international organizations we belong to, and a number of projects started that have not been paid for.
So to explain for the understanding of our audience, what do you mean when you talk about these?
So assessed contributions, as members of international organizations such as ECOWAS, AU, UN, you have to pay up every year. And so it's called assessed contributions. We have huge arrears to clear, and
to the tune of 453 million
Ghana cedis. That's huge. So in preparing the 2025 budget, we had to suspend a lot of projects. What my departments brought when we had our first management meeting, they wanted about 3.3 billion Ghana cedis. But we had to slash it looking at the arrear situation. We took out about 1 billion Ghana cedis. We've suspended all fiscal infrastructure in terms of the passport application centers we're supposed to construct this year so that we can clear the arrears. The president instructed us that we need to cut expenditure. So we've cut expenditure drastically, and some of those things that we will often do, which can wait, we have said that look, it has to wait. So we are not going to be purchasing any new vehicles for those of us at the top. No new vehicles for ministers, for chief directors, whether salon or V8s. We are cutting down on even the travel expenditure. No first class travels, and so we've really taken a hit, and I think that's how it has to be. If you look at the fact that our public debt now is in excess of 720 billion, and the president revealed yesterday that even with our commitments under the domestic debt exchange program, we have to be paying over 280 billion Ghana cedis over the next 4 years. And then your own ministry, you have this 453 million Ghana cedis that you need to clear. You can't continue with the same expenditure patterns as though it's business as usual. So we are really doing our best to make sure that we come out of the woods. I must also add that I was saddened to also discover that the adjoining lands of the foreign ministry are all gone, really. And a number of people have been approaching us with so-called documentation that they own those portions of the land and they are preparing to construct. So we've had to send a strongly worded message to all of them that, I mean, nobody does that. A foreign ministry, and you want to come and just, annex our land and build so close to it. And some are foreign interests, And then we've also discovered that some of them are the owners of properties demolished at the National Cathedral site. And so they try to compensate them with portions of our land. But you see, if you look at the plan of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we are not done with the full layout. We just finished with the second phase. That's their next building, which the Chinese government was generous to donate to us. They did that construction for us. But there is a phase 3, and that was the plan for that land. And that land has historically come under so much attack because it's so prime. You remember that under President Akufo it was sold out, and then fortunately Professor Mills won the 2008 elections just a few months after that sale, and so reversed it and asked everybody to come for a refund. So this is the second time that prime land at airport has come under onslaught. But we have done a cabinet memo asking for cabinet support. We are going to put up a very strong fight. And my position against state capture and the sale of state assets. I mean, all those people will have to go go back to the Lands Commission and get somewhere else to go to. We are not going to give up any inch of land. And I'm being careful because some of the people to benefit are foreigners. So you recall the Mali ambassador's residence was demolished.
Yes.
It appears that Mali is on the list, and then there's another
so they were offered country. Land there.
Yeah, but that's sort of and when I go through the handover notes and the files, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was not even consulted. So this was just done without recourse to the ministry, and we are not going to accept that. They're not going to accept that. So in the next few days, you are going to see a very big fight to protect those state assets belonging to all of us. We cannot do that. We cannot do that. And even the national security considerations. I mean, you're going to have some of these bodies, and they're individuals on the list. They want to build so close to the foreign ministry. You don't know who they work for, where their allegiances are, what kind of gadgets will be installed there. And nobody does that. There is no foreign ministry, in this world where, its land can just be sold to all kinds of people and handed over to all manner of persons. So
it's important that you draw our attention to the fact that the foreign ministry was not consulted, because then I wanted to find out this figure that you just mentioned, the 453 million cities. It's in cities,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Because I know that you served as a ranking member of the Foreign Committee in Parliament, and then I'm just wondering, did you not anticipate, did you not cite, is this figure surprising to you? And even all of these lands that you're mentioning that may have been allocated to these persons or institutions or whoever is deservingly so saying that it's theirs, did you not smell it at all? Because you specialize in at least foreseeing things before they happen. Did you not?
Good question. I must say that as ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee, I got snippets and I must say intercepted a few documents. But as the president said yesterday, quoting the ages, it's only when you really get in, that the full length of the frog, as the sages will say. So I did not really prepare to appreciate the depth of the challenges, to be diplomatic with my expressions, as I'm enjoying to do these days. So So to be honest with you, I didn't have a full appreciation and understanding about the size of the arrears. And then, I mean, yes, we had heard about some reallocations of land, some attempts to compensate some of the victims of the National Cathedral demolition, but because they just told us that government was handling it, it didn't occur to me that the foreign ministry will have to bear the brunt, and a lot of these relocations are happening at a location, land belonging to the foreign ministry. So we certainly are not going to accept this, and we are going to put up the fight of our lives to make sure that we preserve these lands for the foreign ministry.
All right. So going back to this, visual of the size of the debts that you've come to meet as a government, not just your ministry, but if that's what's happening at Foreign Affairs, then no doubt it will be everywhere. Now, the president did say that he is promising to fix the economy, reset the economy, like he promised to fix Dumso, and Dumso got fixed. It sounded inspiring to hear it, but the reality, just as you've illustrated, is that when you have such debts, whatever it is that you had intended to do must wait. Not everything can get done immediately. Is it fair to say that part of the State of the Nation address yesterday was to manage the expectations of Ghanaians that it's not everything you promised in this campaign that we can expect you to deliver?
I wouldn't say that was the objective. The president wants all of us to recognize that it is not going to be an easy task. However, he emphasized that he does not want to just be a lamenter who only laments at the problem, but he wants to be a leader who can rise above a very onerous and a very difficult situation and still deliver. So if you listen to him carefully, he recounted all the manifesto promises in every sector and did not walk away from any. He has said that we are not going to cut back on free SHS. He intends to make it better. We are not going to cut back on our no fee stress policy. He wants all persons living with disability to have tertiary education free of charge. He's committed to that. He has said that he will make sure that his national apprenticeship program, his 1 million coders program, his massive job creation initiatives, which includes even exporting labor. And I already, as foreign minister, have some very exciting partnerships that I have forged with other countries, which we'll be announcing soon, to export young people so that they can have a regulated, travel work experience, not being exploited by unscrupulous travel agents who don't come under any bilateral agreement. So you arrive, they seize your passport, they are taking portions of your salaries, and you don't even know the conditions under which you are going to work, and a lot of them come under all kinds of human rights violations. So we are going to regulate that space. So all of these major promises that he made during the campaign, Women's Development Bank, making sure that our farmers receive the inputs, and the support, the cooperatives, the equipments to cut down. I mean, I was really scandalized to hear that our food import bills is now in excess of $2 billion annually. I mean, that is atrocious. So it is not to say that because I have come to meet this mess, I cannot deliver. No. He is letting the Ghanaian people know the full truth, opening the books to us so that we can all be prepared to make the sacrifices required. And that's why he commended organized labor. That organized labor, after seeing the books, because he went to the tripartite meeting and opened up everything to them, they initially wanted about 28% increase of the base pay. They then had to, empathize with government and agreed to do 10%. So you see the advantage of things like that when you open up, when you are truthful, and then most importantly, when you lead by example. That is why the president was really clear about letting Ghanaians know that his promises to cut down expenditure will not be compromised. So the 60 ministers, he says that he will not go beyond, and he's come under enormous pressure, I can tell you, within the party. All of those, when you get over 6 million votes, so many people have helped you to come to power. They have, legitimate expectations. You saw what happened at our party headquarters the last time, but he's saying that, look, party folks, please bear with us. Look at the state of the economy. The Ghanaian people, bear with us. So he's saying he won't exceed 60. He says presidential staffers, he will not do even up to half of what happened. And the campaigns I have waged about what was going on with these presidential staffers appointments. No cap. So, it was just increasing every year. He has also said that he will make sure that he regulates travels. If you look at our travel bills as government, size of delegations, there have been conferences in the past where the Ghanaian government will send more than 350 people. You remember one of the COPs? What? It's virtually sending the whole government to one conference to do what? And these bills don't, come easy on the taxpayer. So it is to show that he's leading by example. He will be modest, as he has already demonstrated, and then to get the collective buy-in. But the Ghanaian people should be assured. If you look at the people are calling him a magician, how he managed to even clear the DDP commitments for our pensioner bondholders and other bondholders. It's virtually a miracle. Now, what they had to do was to virtually, sweep all accounts, halt a lot of expenditure items. He is now no government official can travel without express, permission from his office, from the chief of staff's office. If you don't have permission to travel, you will be queried, and I'm told that after first query, you'll be taken out of the government. So all of these interventions are helping. That's how come he was able to clear, the DDP commitments. And I think that really, if we look at it this way, that yes, I've inherited a bad situation. I'm determined to bring us out of the woods, but we need also to transform our country. We can't just be static. You have to create jobs. You have to industrialize. You must fix agricultural problems. You must make sure that education works for the people. So bear with us, sacrifice like organized labor has just done, and then together, and as he put it, when we grow the cake and it becomes bigger, then we can all, share.
I think the question is how we grew the cake in this short 4-year period. You look at revenue, GRA's total target for 2025 is 200 million, 200 billion, right? Yeah. If you compare that to the bills we have to pay, it's nothing. Yeah. So the question is there enough time? Is there enough time for the cake to be grown?
That is a multi-million-dollar question. You have to be creative. We all know that the president has only 4 years. Anything about that? That's what the Constitution says. But I've heard the finance minister say in cabinet that he believes he can come up with creative ways to plug the loopholes. He thinks that GRA can do far better. And so he's young, dynamic minister coming up with a lot of innovation. I am quite confident that he can do some magic. And, interestingly, he's saying this at the same time promising that a number of tax handlers will have to go. Yeah. E-levy, will have to go. He says betting tax will have to go. He's even having a closer look at the COVID levy and all of that. But he's quite confident. He believes, for example, that if e-levy goes and people now have restored confidence in mobile money transactions, that will grow the economy. Then, because people are doing a lot of cash out now, and it's they are just operating, and it's difficult to then know exactly what is going on there in that space, bring them under full regulation, and then help grow the economy. So let's see. I still believe that looking at the work I did with oversight in Parliament, there is a lot of leakage. Last year alone, the Auditor General, in just one Auditor General's report, there was 8.8 billion cedis in terms of infractions, malfeasance, diversions. And the Auditor General said in that Auditor General's report that 8.8 billion is recoverable. If you look at the oral report that we presented, compiling all of what we had received and the oversight work we had done in Parliament, we are talking in excess of $20 billion, dollars in terms of what has been lost. The United Nations has said that, what Africa is losing, to corruption, is far more than, what we are receiving, in a combined way from aid, donor support, and grants and all of that. So I am really convinced that if we plug the loopholes, if we vigorously fight corruption, eliminate it, I think that we can find the resources to fulfill all these manifesto promises which brought us to power.
It's good that you've mentioned oral. Of course, you can't be here and then won't talk about oral, considering that you have submitted the report. Now, many have said that most of these resources that we have lost, as you have estimated that we're recovering about, if we are supposed to be recovering, it will be a little over $20 billion.
Dollars.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Many have said that it is woven into schemes and policies which can amount to nearly unrecoverability. Have you estimated, are we genuinely able to recover all of this? And if we are unable to recover all of this in a very fair and feasible manner, what's the percentage we are likely to recover? Possible percentage. And did you put a cost to this percentage to say that, is it even worth it at all to want to spend this amount in recovering nearly nothing?
Good. So in terms of expenditure to recover, the oral work we did was sacrificial. Nobody took any salary, no allowance. Even the websites we designed and all of those things were pro bono work, gratis. And so we are conscious of the fact that you want to recover, and so you must not incur further liability. Now, having said that, the amounts to be recovered, we need to be realistic to say that it's not going to be an easy task, but it doesn't mean it is an impossibility. We have received a lot of requests from forensic experts willing to assist us, and I have enormous confidence in our Attorney General, who has now taken over oral phase 2. Our work with phase 1 was just to put all of the data together. Phase 2 is going into actual recoveries, prosecutions, and you've seen the work they have started. The arrests, the invitations, investigations, and prosecutions are going to start in the next few days. Already, I'm hearing that some people have offered to recover, to return some of what they have been accused of. So I am confident that a sizable chunk can be recovered. If you take National Cathedral, for example, for the life of me, I don't know why Carrie Summers should get away with the $6 million that he was given to go raise funds for us. I mean, and I went to the United States of America. I know where he is. We can get him. He must return our $6 million. Why should he keep it? Why on earth should he be allowed to keep that $6 million? And that's a lot of money, all the inflationary pricing that took place. I mean, we look at that pit, $58 million. I mean, see what $58 million can do. I mean, yesterday the president did an analysis with Agenda 111 and said that, a decent model, fully furnished, well-equipped hospital can cost us about $18 million. And he was saying that the $400 million we have spent so far on Agenda 111 and not one is operational. If we had just, been measured and more prudent, we could have gotten 22 completed out of that $400 million. So if $18 million can give you a modern, well-equipped hospital, why are we looking at a pit at $58 million, the world's most expensive pit? And we know the people, the individuals. If you follow the money, you know where it ended. Who are those who are in custody of these amounts? I mean, take the Sky Train. Where is our $2.8 million? Those who came to scam us that they can provide a Sky Train project and that they needed that amount to start work and they never started, they absconded. We should be going after that $2.8 million. The $12 million on Pualugu, all we see is some, bush, nothing to show for it. When you go to the grounds in Pualugu, who is keeping the $12 million? It should be retrieved. Ejapa royalties, the $12 million spent under the guise of looking for an office in the UK and all of that, all kinds of weird claims. That $12 million must come back. Fortunately, looking at some data recently, I see that those shonky sheikhs who came to scam us that they would get us Sputnik V vaccines, they have paid back their $2.5 million. So we can put our best effort and retrieve a lot of these amounts. Now remember that when we talk about oral, it is not only about financial crimes against the people. We are also talking about fiscal assets that people have looted, basically, grabbed for cheap. I mean, all those who are in possession of land at cantonments, some paying 42,000 cedis, 120,000 cedis. I believe that there can be a scheme under oral where we do independent valuation, value all of those lands. What every other Ghanaian pays, let's get them to top up. If Kojo, you want to own a cantonment's land and you are asked to pay $500,000 or $1 million, those my colleague politicians, some sitting with me in parliament, and that's why some of them hate me so much, who have paid 42,000 cedis. Simple, let's ask them. Oral should ask them that we've done an independent valuation. Bring your top up. You are supposed to bring $680,000 or $780,000 as top up. So bring your top up if you do not want the state to retrieve it. And that's why, look, yesterday one of my highlights with the president's address was the pledge that government is now going to sponsor. Initially I was the one sponsoring a private members bill prohibiting politicians and politically exposed persons from purchasing state assets. Now the president says that he will champion that himself. I'm so excited about that. That he is going to, the government would now sponsor that legislation. So just imagine how much we can get if all of these assets that were sold for cheap, including what I've revealed happening to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs lands, can't we ask these people to pay top-ups? If you don't want confiscation, if you don't want us to return these assets to the state, then pay the fair market value. Because you see, a few people in the political class they're just causing us a lot of opprobrium, a lot of anger. The ordinary folks who work so hard all their lifetime so that they can pay a fair market value. You come into politics a few months and you can just grab these assets. It's not fair. It makes nonsense of hard work.
I'm sure there are many who agree.
We must get them to pay a fair value.
There are many who agree. There are many who are also excited that the government is now going to sponsor that bill. I am one of those people. However, I still try to think about the legal space within which you are asking people to either top up or return these lands. Because, first of all, once that bill comes into law, you can't be retrogressive with it.
That's true.
But even now, when you go to such a person who has paid 40,000 cedis for land that ought to have cost him $1 million, right? And you say to him, top up. By what law can you compel him? Because much as the price is ridiculous and unfair, it's not illegal. So by what law can you compel him to do this top up or return?
I have often heard this argument, and I take the view that there's a reason why lawmakers before us put in our laws causing financial loss to the state. I believe we can come under that law. If a transaction causes financial loss to the state, it makes what you have done illegal. So we can come under that ambit. That look, this same period, fortunately, it's an open market. This same period, Mr. A, who probably works at Joy, same size, a plot of land, paid $1 million. You, because you belong to the political class, you have gone to pay 42,000 cedis. Same plot of land, same time, same period. We are declaring that this is causing financial loss to the state. So you have to purge yourself, pay the top up. That is, if we even want to be magnanimous, and we are not, because I like the Professor Mills approach in 2009 that look, we have plans for that land. We want to put up a foreign ministry there, because where would a foreign ministry be today? If Professor Mills did not say, look, we are not selling, come for your cheap amounts. So that to me should be our plan A, except that some people have rushed to build and some are still building and all of that. So we don't want them to be crying human rights violation, witch hunting. Already they've started that this whole oral is a witch hunt, but it's about our country. It's about protecting our assets, So I believe that under the ambit of causing financial loss, all of these transactions have caused financial loss. And there are people in jail, mind you, who, were accused of, crimes that are nowhere near, not comparable to the quantums of loss that we are talking about. Nowhere near.
I want us to talk more about this and other foreign affairs issues with our guest Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, who of course the Minister for Foreign Affairs and a Member of Parliament for North Tongue. We don't have a lot of time left, so I'm going to very quickly get your views on this comment by the Minority Leader Alexander Afenyo Markin when he was making his response to the State of the Nation address yesterday. I prefer to quote him. If I can find the quote, it should be right here. So he said, and I quote, Mahama has today told us that we have a 2.2 million Ghanaians unemployed. But what he has forgotten is that in his administration, in less than 100 days, all we know is sack them. So there seems to be
with a quote, Mahama Bako.
Oh, okay. There was what? Mahama Bako.
Mahama Bako, Sakin
Bibri. Wow. Okay. So I mean, to him, there is some cognitive dissonance here. You want to create jobs, but you're sacking people who have been given jobs. Yeah, help make it make sense.
I thought the minority leader will be explaining to the Ghanaian people, particularly the teeming youth, why for so many years, unemployment was worsening under the Ghana Statistical Service surveys every year. Young people were asking for jobs. Even the NAPO people were crying, please don't sack us, pay us and all of that. They didn't listen. Then you lose an election. And then after losing that election, you engage in these mass recruitments. They should be explaining to the young people of our country, why were they so wicked to them? For 8 years. You don't employ them. Unemployment worsens to historic heights. You even dismiss NAPO people, refuse to pay them. As we speak, NAPO people are owed between 4 to 6 months. You didn't listen to them. Then you lose an election. Then you decide to create this, because it's not just about we've given you appointment letters. Ability to pay. You've created this economic mess. We are discussing all these arrears, huge arrears. How are we going to pay these people? If you look at what they did in the security services, immigration, thousands of people. Meanwhile, the Honorable Osafo, if you go back to, history, recent history, he was very clear as senior minister during the transition that they would not accept the previous government attempting to employ anybody after the elections. Because you see, how is the new government going to pay for these, jobs, thousands of jobs that you've created? So let's be clear. President Mahama is not sacking everybody employed under the last administration. That's not what is happening. There's been a lot of deliberate distortion propaganda. If you were employed before the transition, before the elections, you are fine. In my ministry, I have painstakingly gone through the records. I've seen that they obtained financial clearance in July from the finance ministry. And within the budget, there was an allocation that year they will employ people, even though they exceeded. What was in the budget was that they will employ just about 40. But they got financial clearance from finance to employ 100. I've done my due diligence. It happened truly in July. It was not backdated. And the process took time. I've checked with the head of civil service, even though some of them got their appointment letters in November, in December. At least the process has started. So at the foreign ministry, I have explained to the president that what we have seen, I like to be fair to people, what we have seen, the process started much earlier. So not a single person at the foreign ministry is being dismissed. Other colleagues have done the assessment where it is clear that the process started much earlier. There is financial clearance. There was provision in the budget for these recruitments to be done. People are not being fired. But it is, the malicious recruitments after elections. That is the contentious matter. And every government will be concerned about that. So I think that what we must learn from this is that when we are in power and there is space we know we can employ, let's employ people. Let's not keep them at home unemployed. Then you lose an election and then you want to create fiscal burdens for your opponents.
You're waiting for winning and someone abeto yepono so because so we can subscribe to channel idea but more than subscribe. We say hadia latest and hot news and kwa era me de bro. I think we are like video give us a thumbs up not fi share ma Ato Forson we be here na wo hu someone ekoso ewo Ghana me mu harum. Also betimi otchere wadwen afa yen some we nyira ho ewo comment box ni mu. Mobati minka biom in my next video.
Thanks for watching. Like and share the video. You can also drop your comment. Please don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell to turn on the notification.